Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, we're continuing our series on the great engineering universities of the world, expanding outside of America all the way to the 51st state, North Canada, this time looking at the University of Toronto.
I was pretty, I'm not going to say impressed. I mean, their rankings aren't like terribly like great, but
Yeah.
they got some decent programs in engineering. But yeah,
Unparalleled syrup. They are so good at making
they are
syrup.
so good at making the syrup.
Oh my goodness.
So Toronto University, or University, I keep on saying Toronto, University of Toronto. So on March 15th, 1827, a royal charter was formally issued by King George the IV, whatever number that is in Roman numerals, proclaiming from this time henceforth one college with a style and privilege of university for the education of youth in the principles of Christian religion and for their instruction and various branches of science and literature shall continue forever to be called King's College. That was up until 1850, whenever they decided to change the name.
You said that so well that I felt like you were there when this was proclaimed. Like, I know you're old, but maybe not quite that old, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love that too. You're right. Like 23 years later. Yeah, not named that anymore.
Yeah, forevermore. Apparently, even being a king, you can't like make that type of proclamation.
Apparently not. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. It had something to do with the church affiliation, right?
Like it was
the
all
church affiliation.
Yeah, it was all
unpopular.
Church. Yeah, it was all church related.
Yeah.
Actually, the first, apparently, John Strachan. Right. He was a bishop up in Toronto, eating poutine all day long.
So good.
He was actually the first college president, and it was at his lobbying that King George the IV decided to build the college.
Oh, there we go. I saw once they turned into the university, non-denominational university of Toronto.
Is the word.
There we go. They also someone else kicked off the Trinity College in Toronto like a year later. But then I think they became one thing again eventually. So, I don't know how they do stuff up in Canada, but who am I to say? I don't have literally any other history. Do you?
there wasn't there wasn't a lot
interesting. There were some things, but
yeah, I mean it's Canada.
Yeah. How about rankings? You want to talk about that?
Well, before we do that, let's talk about like the monies and like some of the details.
I skipped over that one this time. Please tell me.
So first of all,
everything free in Canada? You just give all your money to the government and they take care of everything for you?
I'm pretty sure that's
okay.
That's what happens.
Okay.
So I find this hard to believe, James.
I'm waiting.
The student enrollment fall 2022. They have this. So right now, essentially, so they have this number of 97,066 students. So
that's across all their campuses, right?
And their campi are like they're literally like half a mile from each other. Like
really?
They're not even. I mean, I don't know how big.
They're very close.
I don't know how big Canada is.
It's pretty small, yeah.
But so they have St. George, Mississauga, Sachiabara, and the biggest one is St. George.
Okay.
They have a total of 65,000 graduate and undergraduate. Mississauga has 16,900. Sachiabara has 14. But then they have domestic and international. I have to assume these are counting their like online students is what it's counting. Like people doing like accelerated MBAs online because they got 60. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So yeah, so 97,000 total enrollment, which is bananas. Now, here's the even crazier part of the total enrollment. Like, I'd say more than a quarter of it, like 1/3 of it, is international students. And guess what it costs to go to the University of Toronto as a visiting? You're not from Canada.
Like if you and I went.
If you and I decided to go.
I don't know. Tell me. Oh,
$62,250 tuition only.
Canadian dollars?
So I don't know what this means.
Because the Canadian
they are
dollar is
Canadian
like
dollars.
maybe a nickel, right?
So I'm assuming
that's not accurate. It's very expensive.
It's about $42.
Okay.
No, so all in, if you're an international visiting non-Canadian student, it's going to be $362,532. I have no idea what that is Canadian.
For your degree?
For a 4-year undergraduate degree.
So if that's Canadian dollars. In America dollars, that's 280,000 and change.
That's still...
That's a lot.
Even with the wacky Canadian American dollar conversion, that's bananas.
That is a lot of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that's up there with some of the most expensive schools in the U.S.
Certainly that we've talked about. Yeah. Wow,
so
good job,
little pricey.
Toronto.
Little pricey. I mean, they're doing something. But the fact that
what if you live there?
If you live there, it's like 14,000 Canadian, whatever that is. It's probably
that's like
$40-$50.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
So
that's
way but the interesting thing too is because they have provinces and they don't have states, anybody in any Canadian province gets the same price, even if they're
all of Canada can
exactly like with
price.
us in the US, it's in state, out of state, but because Canada's, I don't know how big it is, it's the top of America. Essentially,
it's the top of America.
Doesn't matter where you are.
The land goes up really far. You just can't really live there.
Yeah, it goes up to the North Pole with Santa Claus and stuff.
Yeah, Santa. And
so essentially, whether you're in New Brunswick or you're in Saskatchewan, you get the exact same price.
I'm impressed that you named 2 places. Labrador.
Isn't
that one of the islands.
Right? It is. Is that all you got?
I've been to Edmonton, but I don't know what that little place is called.
The Oilers. It's hockey, right?
It's the whole place is Edmonton.
Okay.
Is that Vancouver? Or is Vancouver just a city? Or is Vancouver a city and a bit?
I don't.
Let's stop embarrassing me and continue on with something else.
That's what I got in the fees. We can go to whatever you want to go to next.
That's really mind-blowing. You're right. Let's go to rankings next because I have information on that.
Mm-hmm.
So first, the University of Toronto rankings overall. Now, keep in mind that when we talk about like the US news rankings, which I think is where I got these as well, for the US schools we talk about, they have those broken out just for America, right? In America, this is the ranking they get. This is their world score. So pretty good. So overall in Canada, for all of Canada, they're the #1 best global university. Overall, in the world, I see them best overall 16th in the world for the whole university. But for engineering, they're number 54 in the world. Still pretty good, right?
I mean, worldwide.
But then when you get into their disciplines, it's not as impressive as some of the schools we've talked about. But again, these are worldwide scores, not just America.
They have no #1s, right?
I didn't see them have any single digits.
I saw a couple top 10.
Oh, really? Everything I saw worldwide, chemical engineering, I see at 141, civil at 98, comp sci at 37.
I'm talking about all programs, sorry.
Oh, okay. Electrical and electronic engineering, 102. Geosciences, 44. I would expect Canada to be good at geosciences. Material sciences, 62. The one that really matters, mechanical engineering, they're a flat number 100. I like that. 74 in nanoscience and nanotechnology, and 78 in polymer science.
Their best program out the entire university global rankings is nursing. It's 6th globally. And that's not super surprising considering the medical. For me, it's not because I know how like medical stuff works. Like the medical system in Canada it's run by the government. It's government funded.
So you'd expect their school to be good.
You would expect a school that is in a country like that to perform well because they're probably subsidized and funded quite a bit by the government for
a good point
for their program. So so nursing is their best. Their next best one that I see is Oh my goodness. Anatomy and physiology
Seems in
at
line, right?
yeah, at 8, and then geography jumps in at ninth.
They know where Canada's located,
Exactly.
unlike us. All right, before we move on with anything else, we need to take a break for a word from our sponsor.
I have to assume this is the Toronto, what are they called? The Blues?
Blue Jays?
The Blue varsity, they're called the Varsity Blues.
That's their team name?
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
No, it isn't.
University of Toronto Varsity Blues.
Do you remember the movie Varsity Blues? It was very popular when I was in high school. It had some good scenes.
I do remember
that. Couple shout outs since we don't have any sponsors, not the Varsity Blues. That's fantastic. First one, Charles H. The whole email says, James sounds like Tony Hinchcliffe.
Who's that?
So I didn't know. So I YouTubed Tony Hinchcliffe. It turns out he's a comedian. And, this is one of those things like, oh, I bet James sounds like him. Huh? Dude sounds just like me. Or maybe I sound just like him. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, that is. But what's interesting is I have Hinchcliffe in my family. Like, one of my parents' families was a Hinchcliffe. So maybe I'm related to this guy.
Last name?
Yeah, Hinchcliffe.
Hinch.
Hinchcliffe.
That's a weird last name.
Yeah. So maybe he's like my cousin or something.
Sure. I've never heard that name before in my life. It's got to be a relation, right?
There we go. Well, Tony, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, in between comedy tours or shows, hit me up. So thanks, Charles. I needed that. He is very nasally, Luke. Sammy S. also wrote in. Sammy is an EE student and an intern at Northrop Grumman. So nice. Obviously smarter than we are.
For sure.
I think a good episode would be to talk about the atomic clock in GPS satellites, ground stations, which manage timing, and how important those systems are for research, GPS, and other vital tools we take for granted. Now, while I agree, Luke, that these would be interesting topics for us, since we did interview the guy who invented the atomic clock,
just saying,
I feel like we wouldn't be able to do these topics justice, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe we could do it, like bring it down to like a normal human level that people could understand.
Mm-hmm.
But Sammy, if you haven't checked that one out, make sure to do so.
But we didn't actually do like the details of it. Like we just interviewed the cat. So
yeah. So maybe the atomic
clock would be
actually
pretty good.
He was funny. He was so good. He was so smart and funny. Yeah, I like him. I wonder if he's still alive. He wasn't old, or he wasn't young. I mean,
he was old.
Yeah. Anyways, if you're still alive after listening to this and you want to talk to us, if you want to tell us what a great job we're doing, if you want to suggest some episodes, I don't care what, why don't you go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, share. We love the reviews. Check out the Unprofessional Engineering store to get all the swag you want. You won't have to wait for James to send it to you. And you can always tell your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering podcast.
Luke, let me throw this out there. If any of you listening think your company might want to sponsor us, why don't you email us as well? We were just hitting 20,000 listens a week on iTunes alone, not counting the crappy old Amazon platform or Spotify or anything like that. You should have us be, giving you shout outs for your company and paying us.
I totally agree.
Acceptance to the university, Luke. The admissions committee for engineering will consider your overall academic history. An average of 85% is typical for U of T, but for the engineering programs, you strive for an average of 90% to get a competitive advantage on admissions. So I'm reading all of this and I'm like, yeah, cool. What about your SATs? What about your ACTs? What about anything like that? And nothing comes up, nothing. To qualify for admissions, it says candidates in the Ontario grade 12 curriculum must be completing the Ontario secondary school diploma or equivalent. They have to finish these classes: English, ENG4U, calculus and vectors, which I don't know if I even did vectors in high school, chemistry, physics, advanced functions, and one more U or M course. I guess these are all U or M fancy courses. And I'm like, I don't understand. What about my SATs? So I messaged one of my friends that lives in Montreal and asked him about this. And he says that Canada doesn't have an equivalent to the SATs or ACTs to get into university, because you don't call it college, you call it university. For all provinces besides Quebec, it's based on high school GPA or like percent, like 90% or whatever that you get in a class. For Quebec, it's based on a different thing because Quebec's different all the time, which is really interesting to me. So this got me thinking, how would I stack up? And I went to grantme.ca/U of T engineering admissions average to see what I could figure out. They offer up a little quiz that tells you basically your admission score, how likely it is for you to get in. Out of
that's
five,
kind of nice.
A 5 out of 5, you're very likely. A less than that, less likely. Luke, I scored a whopping 3.2 out of 5. So
I want to take this quiz.
I'll send you the link. I thought about doing it live on the air, but it does ask some maybe personal questions you wouldn't want to answer. So let me send that to you in our little messenger here, and you can take it sometime. I thought it was cool though. 3.2 out of 5. I have a chance. Good news, Luke. Grades are critical, but your video interview and essays will make or break you. The issue is that the majority of students fail to submit a compelling supplemental application. So what I'm thinking is maybe our podcast would be what we need to get in the door at U of T.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was going to move into demographics. Do you have anything you want to add before that?
Did you list all the programs?
No.
Or did I miss that?
I did. We did the rankings, but that was about it.
Okay,
what else do you want to talk about?
I just want to make sure that. So you did also engineering, science, mineral, material, mechanical, industrial, electrical, civil, chemical, and they also have. It's called one track undeclared. My guess is that's whenever you're like, yeah, I want to do engineering, but I have no idea which one I want to do.
I feel like that's what you kind of start at in school anyways, right? You claim that you're going to be something, but they all just kind of funnel you into the same classes.
Yeah, so one of the things I think is interesting is it's considered Canada's #1 engineering school. Like all the rankings we did before were global. So it's the #1 school in Canada.
It hurts that you don't listen to me, Luke.
I was listening. For the past 4 years, U of T engineers' first-year classes have been near 40% women, the highest in Canada. They have 160 plus partner universities. There's 21 minors, if you want to do a minor that you
like
can.
People under 18?
No. Like if you wanted to do like engineering and basket weaving, you can kind of combine those minors.
Yeah.
There's over 75 clubs that you can join as, and this is just in the School of Engineering. 32% of the students are international, which lines up with roughly the school's average.
That's it.
Yeah, it says international students in first year engineering studies, 32%. There are 360 plus companies that are represented and the people that employ them. There are 700 plus co-ops, and they get a whopping $15.7 billion injected into the Canadian economy each and every year because of U of T.
That's pretty good. They like that economy. I'll get to a fun fact later on, but there was something interesting that made me think of. You said the lady types, they go there. I saw 36.7%, so that's near 40. We'll give them that rounding up, I guess. Degrees awarded to women, 27.5%. Master's degree or master's enrollment, 29% women, and PhD enrollment, 26% women. So very good there. You were mentioning that it's mostly North America, but a fair chunk from other, we'll say. I saw 32% of their student population is from Asia, which is like bonkers. That's super high, especially considering your $300,000 to get your degree. A little bit from Middle East, Europe, Africa, all like rounding error kind of numbers though. So mostly North America and Asia. And then something I found really impressive, especially coming from Penn State, where you're one of 10 billion people in a class, the undergraduate student to faculty ratio for the different majors, chemical engineering, 14.3 students per, civil and mineral or mining, 11.3, electrical, 15.4, mechanical, 20.1. So really, a lot of professors there for the number of students that are going on. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You mentioned all the clubs. Nearly 13,000 students from China. That's pretty impressive, which is the largest contingent of international students at the University of Toronto. Very cool stuff. Before we go on, Luke, you know what we need to do. Take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
Okay, so this week's rant, I'm bringing it back again to...
Not again.
No. So this one is going to be about on campus or off campus, and I feel like people that are listening to these are probably kids or parents that are thinking about going to university.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that most universities, I think, require freshmen to live on campus. So like,
Penn State did.
If you go to like University of Pittsburgh or Penn State, Pitt, you have to stay in the towers, and apparently the towers are basically like prison cells.
How are they still standing? Oh my goodness! Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I think I helped a couple friends or friends of kids or something like that move in, and it's essentially like it's a prison cell. But after that, you're allowed to move off campus, get your own housing, stay with student housing, but maybe get in nicer, upperclassmen student housing. And when you look at how inexpensive the campus housing is versus going out, getting your own apartment, dealing with a landlord, like having to worry about getting a car and parking and driving in. So right now, again, we're in the throes of this college discussion with our daughter right now. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give the heads up on, you should be allowed to move off campus and get a car and do all this stuff. So did you live in student housing your 3 years, or did you go off campus and rent an apartment and find a place and get a car or a bike or a bus?
Yeah, I went off campus. We had a pretty nice house my sophomore year. It was really nice. But it was pretty far away from campus. There was a lot of the hassles of like you're saying, getting on campus, but it's a good lesson too. Having to pay your rent, having to deal with a landlord, getting in trouble if you throw parties. Those sorts of things were all good lessons.
But how many kids do you think really do that? And it's their parents just writing the check to pay the rent? Or, I doubt most kids are. Did you write a check every month or save money? And
okay. I had to write an actual check. I had to learn how to use a checkbook. No, I didn't. Okay. I had a class on that in high school.
It just seems like I told my daughter, I really want her to focus on studies, not thinking about how you're getting back and forth to school. Not think about what you have to do. And so I think that kids stay on campus housing. Some of them are really nice depending on the university you go to. Usually freshmen get the crappy old dorms, and then the upperclassmen usually get a little bit nicer. So
that's right.
So I would strongly, because if you look at the price if you just look at University of Toronto, they say $21,000 max for 4 years. I mean, the fact that it's going to be $5K a year for your residence with a meal plan versus
that's with the meal plan?
Yeah, versus eating Taco Bell and cleaning up after Taco your friends. Bell. So
yeah. I will say, Luke, supporting you, I was talking to someone from Buffalo the other day, and they said that a lot of Buffaloians come down to Pittsburgh to go to school. And she was like, oh, yeah, Duquesne's a big university, that one? And I was like, of course I do. But it made me think, you know what? Just tell your daughter it's Duquesne or bust. Anyways, let's move on before I get myself in trouble. Fun fact for you, Luke.
Shoot.
I only saw this one place, and I don't know how accurate it is. Toronto is a city that's actually known as the Northern Hollywood. Did you see that?
I did not.
So it says so many movies are being filmed there that it's known as Northern Hollywood. Such movies as Good Will Hunting, Resident Evil, and Mean Girls were shot at the school. how long ago was Good Will Hunting made? Like
Oh,
really
geez,
long
a
ago.
long time ago.
Mean Girls, I mean, that's not exactly new. Wasn't Lindsay Lohan in that before she was a wreck? I mean, that's she's back now. She's good again. But I mean, I don't know if you can claim to be Northern Hollywood if that's the case. I only have famous alumni left and some fun facts. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
So I have a couple more quick facts.
Let's hit it. Let's hear it.
So there are 15,000
It's a lot.
faculty members.
It's so many.
That is bananas to me. Like, and I get a lot of these are probably part time, not full time, maybe online instruction. Then there's almost
I told
10.
you, like, I was reading those numbers of students to faculty. That's nuts.
Yeah, and then there's almost 10,000 staff members, and and I don't know why they have this one listed. They have 163 librarians. Like of all the like, why not janitors? Why not like lunch ladies? Like
I probably went
like,
to the
why librarians?
library other than to cut through it to get where I was going like 4 times my entire college career.
Um, so you did the percentages of not percent. You did the number of students from countries, correct?
I did. I did.
Okay.
You were listening.
No, no, no. Sometimes I do multitask. Um, Let me
I'm
see.
going to talk about famous alum while you review that.
Please do that.
Famous alum numero uno. Lorne Michaels, Canadian American. I don't know what that even means. Canadian American television producer, writer, actor, best known for producing Saturday Night Live, The Kids in the Hall, and The Tonight Show. Another slightly well known person, Alexander Graham Bell, Scottish born American inventor, scientist, and engineer, credited with inventing and patenting the first practical telephone. Also founded AT&T, basically. Go check out our episode on Alexander Graham Bell. Another one, Donald Sutherland. He's done too much, but think of the angry boss guy in Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name, President something or other. Jeffrey Skoll. I didn't know who this was, but Jeffrey Skoll is a Canadian engineer, internet entrepreneur, and film producer. He was the first employee and subsequently first president of eBay, which gave him all sorts of cash money, even if it was Canadian cash money. James Hillier, Canadian American scientist who invented and designed and built, along with Albert Prebus, the first successful high-resolution electron microscope in North America in 1938. Check out our inventions from 1930s episode we just talked about. I think the electron microscope was what you named as the most important invention of the decade.
It's got to be.
Yeah. Roberta Bonder, Canada's first female astronaut and the first neurologist in space. Boy, I was really phonetically doing that one. Here's a good one. Paul Schaefer from the David Letterman show, whatever that is. Late Night with David Letterman.
I never liked him.
His bald head?
Oh, no? Never liked him.
Why not?
I don't know. He just seemed like a little squirrely guy.
He was kind of squirrely. And then one more that I saw, but I couldn't validate anywhere else because I didn't try that hard, was Steve Perry from Journey. I saw listed as a University of Toronto graduate.
All righty, you ready for some sports? Because sports are important, right?
Varsity Blues,
even in Canada. So you just ruined it.
You just
the name of their team is. Did I? Oh, I did. The name of their team is the University of Toronto Varsity Blues. That is what is a varsity blue?
I don't even know. Maybe you should Google that.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, first thing, what do you think the best sport is that they have at U of T? If you had to guess.
Hockey.
Correct.
What do you think? Curling.
What do you think their worst sport is?
American football.
Yeah, so in 2020 to the 2019 to 2020 football season, the Toronto Varsity Blues, they only played 8 games.
Football team.
They lost 6 of them. And if you go back in history, like the 2018-2019 season, they lost every single game. You go back to the 2017
A little
season, they lost
demoralizing.
every. Could you imagine going multiple years where you're getting beat 3-63? And here's the best part about it, James, right? We'll look at their 2021 schedule. Guess who's beating them? The Ottawa Giggies.
Oh, the Geekies, though. I mean,
The
stout
the
competition.
Queen's Gales, the York Lions, the Gelfie Griffins. I can't pronounce these Canadian words. But yeah, so I love the names of the sports teams from the other schools in their conference. So yeah, so they do have
very normal for them.
I definitely think so. But yeah, so they actually have quite a few sports. So they got everything from, for men, badminton, mountain biking. I didn't know that was a sport. Water polo, which seems kind of weird.
Water polo is normal.
Fencing. They have squash, which is an interesting. For the ladies, they have cross country, rugby, rowing, lacrosse, hockey. Again, mountain biking. I didn't realize that was a collegiate sport.
That's interesting.
But I guess they're in Canada. It's mountainy, right?
Yeah, I don't think Toronto is, but okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we had our date in Toronto and we went to the Blue Jays game?
Oh my!
And there were seriously like 9 other people in the stadium.
Yeah, that was my first time ever in an indoor stadium.
Yeah, that might have been mine too. Yeah.
Is that where we did the bike trip and we?
No, that was Boston.
That was okay.
Boston.
Yeah.
Few fun facts before we go, Luke.
Shoot.
Reasons you might want to go there. First, they have a whole lot of industry partnerships. Autodesk is one of those, so check that out. Go us. The discovery of insulin and stem cells, as well as the development of pablum and liquid helium took place at the university. Insulin and stem cells is pretty big. University research also led to the creation of the artificial pancreas, which is kind of a big deal. Some stuff for cystic fibrosis, as well as helping with the most severe forms of Alzheimer's disease. The laser beam image recorder was developed at U of T. They found the first black hole, which is cool.
Really?
And they began touchscreen technology, which was called multi-touch at the time. Pretty cool stuff, U of T. Go Varsity Blues.
I feel like the only reason I would go is for the poutine.
I mean, is that a big deal there as well? I know it is in Montreal.
I know it's in, I don't know. Have I been to Toronto?
We've been there.
That one time, but I'm trying to think other than...
that,
did we have poutine on that trip? I forget.
I can't remember. That was a long time ago.
I'd go for the poutine. Cheese curds, fries, gravy. Come on.
I'm in. All right. Well, hopefully all of you would go to the University of Toronto for something other than their delicious food. And maybe you've learned something as well, other than that it's super expensive. If you would like to write in and tell us what we missed about your favorite university, go ahead and do so at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. And until next time.
See ya.